What's going on, guys? In this video, I'm going to be discussing and I'm going to be offering 7 tips that I think all introverts should introduce in order to improve the quality of their life. As an introvert, this is something that I feel very qualified to discuss, and these are all tips that I've implemented which have really made a massive difference to everything that I do. Tip number 1. You need to appreciate that confidence and introversion are not interlinked, and you can actually have two of them together because they are separate entities. So what do I mean by that? Well, I think people look at extroverts, and because extroverts are generally louder, extroverts generally have a lot more to say, and extroverts generally put on a much stronger persona, that extroverts are essentially more confident than introverts. That is not the case, because you can get very confident extroverts, but you can also get very confident introverts. And the reason for this is that confidence and introversion and extroversion are not linked. Introversion and extroversion and where you fall within that spectrum is linked into how your body handles and processes dopamine. Confidence and personal traits such as outgoingness and personal traits such as shyness do not play a part in the slightest. So don't look at extroverted people and think that they are more confident than you. Don't look at extroverted people and think that they've got more value and more to offer than you do, because it's not the case. Their body is just handling dopamine different to how you do. Instead, appreciate that you're confident, appreciate that you've got a lot to say, and appreciate that you've got a lot of value in all social situations. Tip number 2, get really good at managing your energy level. So I was watching a video with Simon Sinek, and he was discussing introversion and extroversion, and he offered what I think is one of the best definitions I've ever heard of it. So he discussed the idea that introverts essentially begin the day with their energy level and their social level at its highest. And every single interaction they have, their energy level dips. And every single one after that, it then dips a little bit more from there. Whereas by contrast, extroverts start the day at rock bottom with their energy level. And every time they speak to someone, every single time they're in a social situation, that energy level rises and rises and rises. So you can kind of see how that plays out in day-to-day life. So maybe think about your workplace. Maybe think about times when you've gone on nights out, times when you've been in a bar, times when you've been in a restaurant, whatever it might be. As an introvert, your energy level probably begins here, and then it begins to dip and dip and dip and dip throughout the evening or throughout the day. The extrovert may start here, but as time progresses and as more social interactions happen, their energy level's going up and up and up and up and up. So how do you manage that, and how do you really get the most from that? Well, what I would recommend is be mindful of all your social situations and all your social events that you've got coming up. So if you've got something coming up on the Saturday that you want to be on top form for, and you've got something on the Saturday that you've got what you want to be really energized for, spend that Friday and spend that Friday evening to yourself. Reflect, do some things you know make you happy, read a book, do whatever it is that will really make you feel good about yourself in your own company. But by doing so, you're almost saving your energy and you're almost banking that energy before the social event itself. And that will mean that when the social event comes, your energy level will be at its highest, and you won't feel quite that you're drained before it's even started, because you've already prepared and you've already saved and banked that energy in advance. Tip number 3, introduce check-in points with yourself. So if you're at a social situation or you're in your workplace and you need to have a bit of time to yourself, or you need to take a little bit of time to yourself because being around people is beginning to get a little bit draining, say something that basically excuses you from the conversation or excuses you from the social situation for a little bit. So maybe just say something such as, guys, I need to go out and check my emails, the reception's here. Maybe just say that you need to go to the loo. Just offer something that isn't particularly groundbreaking, but really just allows you to walk away without people judging you for walking away. And just to say as well, people won't judge you because it's actually very normal to walk away in a social situation and then come back, despite the fact that you're probably overthinking it as an introvert. But when you've walked away and you've taken that time back to yourself, just spend 5, 10, 15 minutes, however long it may be, just reflecting, just thinking. Maybe save something on your phone, maybe save some images on your phone that just calm you a little bit when you look at them, whatever it might be. For me, when I do it, I go away and I check my comments on my YouTube channel and then I respond to a lot of them. That for me is just a great way of taking some time back, and it's just a great way to really allow myself to recover. But by doing so, when I come back and when you go back, your energy level would have had a sharp boost, and it almost feel a little bit like a metaphorical power nap that you have when you're really tired. In terms of just taking that 20-minute nap can sometimes raise your energy level for hours after. So don't be afraid just to do that. Don't be afraid to walk away, withdraw, and take that time back for yourself. And we're only talking about 5 to 10, 15 minutes anyway. so it will really be powerful for you. I can promise you that. Tip number 4, no drugs, no alcohol, and no external ways to try and boost your energy level or try and boost your perceived lack of confidence. You may think that taking something externally can boost your internal process. And of course, short term, maybe that will work a little bit. But what you're actually going to find is you're setting yourself up to failure. Drugs, alcohol, and using them may give you a short-term hit. They may temporarily make you feel good. But what will happen at the same time is your anxiety levels will rise and rise and rise. So you may be at a social situation, and on top of feeling introverted, you'll begin to feel anxious and you'll begin to feel that you need to get away because your anxiety levels are rising because of what you've put into your body. Like I said at the start, confidence doesn't link into introversion and extroversion. So the confidence that you feel has to be generated from within, and it can't come from something else external. So really spend your time defining confidence for yourself, finding situations where you feel confident and expressing yourself in those situations where you feel confident. But using external sources is not going to raise your confidence level in the slightest. Tip number 5, appreciate and use the power of a first impression as best as you can. So it's been said that we often form opinions on people within the first 10 to 15 seconds of meeting them. And whilst there is absolutely a lot of case in that, we also tend to form our opinions on people based on the first impression that they make on us. So that means as an introvert, if there's someone that you want to impress or there's someone that you need to impress, really focus on the first 10 to 15 minutes of that interaction, because that's going to be when they're forming their opinion. So present yourself as confident as you can. Present yourself as someone that's got opinions, someone who's got values, someone that's got things to say. And that is how they will remember you. They won't remember or they won't pay attention to the fact that you probably withdrew a little bit throughout the conversation after. They won't notice that in a group setting you perhaps got a little bit quieter. Instead, they'll remember the first 10 to 15 minutes of that impression that you made. So during that first 10 to 15 minutes, introduce yourself, make a little bit of small talk, even though it will probably feel uncomfortable for you as an introvert. Ask them how they're doing, ask them about their day. Just ask them general things that can really build rapport quite quickly, and ask them general questions that will feel very safe for you to ask. But making that strong first 10-15 minute impression will ensure that that person will think highly of you for a long way after. Tip number 6, find other ways to express yourself. So I know a common frustration that a lot of introverts have is that they find it hard to talk about themselves, and they have to watch a lot of extroverts talk about themselves non-stop. And often at times as an introvert, you'll probably be the person that has to listen to the more extroverted people talking about themselves non-stop. In certain waves and spates, that's absolutely fine, and for short periods of time that can work. But long term you'll find, and long term I know I've found, that your self-worth begins to drop because you feel that people aren't really interested in what you've got to say. The reality is that people are very interested in what you've got to say, you just find it hard to take ownership and talk about yourself. So you're probably going to have to accept that it's going to be something that you do find hard to do. So what I recommend you do, and what I did for myself, is find other ways to express yourself. For me, I've got this YouTube channel. This is just an opportunity for me to put out a weekly video where I can talk about what I'm feeling, talk about what I'm finding interesting, and just express myself in that way. I also express myself a lot by the way that I look. So I've got the long hair, I've got the tattoos, I've got quite an out there dress sense. And for me, that makes me feel good because that's another way I'm showing people who I am. It doesn't have to be either of those two things for you, and it can be something completely different, and that's absolutely fine. But the important thing is that as an introvert, self-expression is just as important for you to do. So really find other ways to express yourself that aren't just normal day-to-day conversation. Tip number 7, appreciate that conflict for you as an introvert is probably very different to conflict for an extrovert. So I'm sure you've been there because I know I've been there myself. Something frustrates you, something bothers you, and you want to say or you want to disagree with something. You spend your time thinking about how you're going to say it, you try and say it, but before long you realise that the moment's passed, the conversation has changed, and time has completely progressed. I know that I have probably spent 30 minutes deciding whether to say something. I've probably spent a week deciding whether to say something. I've possibly even spent a month deciding whether to say something, and by that point it has been completely a moot point and not even worth doing. Here's the reality. For most people, when you say something bothers you, they will hear you, they may feel frustrated, they may react to it, but the moment will pass and there will be no long-term damage. As an introvert, you're going to internalize it though, and you're going to decide that by saying something bothers you, people hate you, people don't like you, people don't want you around, and you're not allowed to talk about things that may bother you or things that may frustrate you. Like I've said, that is not how conflict is, and that is not how extroverts will see the conflict. So take some liberation in that fact. and find it quite freeing to actually know that you can say what you mean and you can say what you feel without it causing long-term damage, because I promise you it won't. It is just your overthinking that is making you think it will cause long-term damage. And that's it. 7 really good tips which I think will make a massive difference to your life, a massive difference to your social life, and just really help you to progress and feel a lot better about being an introvert. If you like this video, please can I ask you to click like and subscribe down below. If you really liked it, I am also offering one-on-one coaching at the website also down below. But as always guys, nothing but love. Take care, and I'll see you all in the next one.